Hello, thank you for joining us on the news at 7. I'm Ruth Aguilera. Let's start with the headlines. President Tinubu swears in new chairman for Nigerian Law Reform Commission. Federal government commits to inclusive dialogue to boost Nigeria's steel industry at the 2025 National Steel Summit. Plus, countdown to Trump and Putin Alaska summit generates interest and debate across the world. President Bola Tinubu has sworn in Professor Dakas Christopher as the new chairman for the Nigerian Law Reform Commission. President Tinubu led the short ceremony before the commencement of the Federal Executive Council meeting this Wednesday. The president also swore in Uchenna Eugene as a commissioner in the same commission. The new chairman, Professor Dakas, promises to launch an immediate process to update some outdated laws in the country.
We will work with the National Assembly at this initial stage in the context of the ongoing constitutional review exercise. And we will also be deliberate about identifying and proposing for reform some of the very obsolete laws that we have. It will interest you to know that quite a number of our laws date back to colonial era, and very many of them are still on the statute books. Many of them are not fit for purpose, and I'm confident that working with the National Assembly and the executive, we will advance the law reform agenda in this country in a manner that inspires confidence in Nigerians and other stakeholders.
State House correspondent Musbahu Danwahab reports that the council members also observed a minute silence in honor of a two-time member, Audu Ogbe, who passed away last week.
May his soul rest in perfect peace.
Late Audu Ogbe was a Minister of Communication under Shehu Shagari administration. He also served as Agriculture Minister under the first term of late Muhammadu Buhari's civilian role. The federal government is providing a strategic platform for inclusive dialogue in the development of the steel industry in Nigeria. Vice President Kashim Shettima gave the assurance at the 2025 National Steel Summit in Abuja. State House correspondent Abdurrahman Jibrila reports.
To deepen impact, we are establishing an industrial park within the Ajaokuta area. It will host a free trade zone. It will include a gas park. It will house a military industrial complex. All of this will draw from the infrastructure already in place. They will position Ajaokuta as the industrial heart of our nation.
Rebuilding and consolidating Nigeria's steel industry collaborative action for sustainable growth and global competitiveness is the theme of this summit, aimed at generating ideas and views to determine the strategic options available to Nigeria in achieving the major goals of ensuring self-sufficiency in steel production.
A technical and financial audit of Ajaokuta, approved by the Bureau of Public Procurement, is currently ongoing. It will inform our next steps and shape investor selection. Our journey is not limited to old dreams. We are building new pillars. We have launched the construction of 5 mini LNG plants in Ajaokuta. These are valued at over $500 million. The project is in partnership with NNPC Limited and private sector stakeholders. We are also concluding an arrangement with the Ministry of Defense and the Defense Industries Corporation of Nigeria, DIC, that will enable us to commence the production of military hardware at the Ajaokuta Engineering Workshop.
Meeting with stakeholders is essential in evaluating the state of the steel industry, exploring investment opportunities, identifying policy and infrastructure gaps, and adoption of a roadmap for the revival and sustainable development of the industry.
policy alignment. As the regulator of the steel industry, we have also reviewed the 2008 metals policy document and our sectorial roadmap, a 10-year sectorial roadmap, to ensure a sustainable growth of the sector with a target production of 10 million metric tons of crude steel per annum.
We are committed to deep, sustained reforms to make Nigeria a competitive destination for steel investment, including promoting value addition through processing and manufacturing, streamlining approvals to attract and retain investors.
These reforms are not just about mining. They are geared towards laying the industrial foundation for a fully integrated Nigerian steel industry. Government alone cannot rebuild this sector. We call on all investors and operators to take advantage of Nigeria's huge market size and resources, as well as the academia to innovate around the steel production technology.
And the hope here is to align the policies in the industry with the national vision, public-private collaboration to chart a clear direction and a roadmap for sustainable development of the industry. In Abuja, Abraham Jibrila, NTAi News.
The Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edun, says the federal government is committed to meeting its obligation of growing the economy with a target of attaining a 7% GDP growth annually. Well, against this background, the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation has introduced a new operational process for the implementation of the 2024 and 2025 capital budget. Benny Adams reported that this was at a stakeholders' engagement in Abuja.
Gathered here are permanent secretaries, accounting officers and directors of finance in ministries, departments and agencies of government. The conversation is about the implementation of the capital component of the 2025 budget. 23.9 trillion naira is involved, which is out of the 54.9 trillion 2025 budget.
Capital budget for 2025 is about 23 trillion. And 2024 transfer is about 10.5 trillion.
To strengthen the implementation of the extended 2024 and 2025 capital budget, the government has announced a new operational process.
Henceforth, warrants AIs will be issued to FDA bound to legal committees to serve as evidence of funds available for the award of contracts or processing of payments for ongoing and completed projects.
The Minister of Finance, Wale Edun, believes in the growth trajectory of the economy and is hopeful that a 7% annual growth is possible with effective and efficient spending.
The economy is growing at about 3.5%, which is above population growth, but that's not the target. The target is to at least double population growth, get to about 7% per annum consistently with rapid, sustained, inclusive growth, then millions of Nigerians will be lifted out of poverty.
According to the new guidelines, commencing from third quarter of 2025, the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation will prepare a quarterly cash plan for cash management, while the Minister of Finance approves warrants for contracts. In Abuja, Benny Adams, NTAi News.
The Bureau of Public Service Reforms has held the August 2025 edition of its lunchtime reform seminar with the theme Public Procurement Reforms, Enhancing Efficiency, Effectiveness and Value for Money in the 21st Century, Challenges and the Way Forward. The discourse focused on enhancing the capacity of procurement officers and highlighting the importance of procurement. Dennis Adegunloye reports.
The Bureau of Public Service Reforms, towards aligning these reforms with the renewed hope agenda of President Bola Tinubu, is redefining governance by transparency, accountability, efficiency, and citizen-centered service delivery. And public procurement, being a cornerstone of fiscal governance, must evolve to reflect these priorities. Public procurement accounts for a significant portion of government spending. Therefore, inefficiencies, corruption, or opacity in the system directly undermine service delivery, national development, and public trust. It is in this context that BPSR continually advocates for robust procurement processes that are transparent, competitive, and technology-driven. And a key aspect of this seminar was the discussion on leveraging technologies like blockchain and AI to improve transparency in public procurement processes. In the procurement space specifically, the Bureau continues to collaborate with the Bureau of Public Procurement, BPP, civil society, and development partners to strengthen the policy framework and build capacity within ministries, departments, and agencies.
The few that came had spoken around the impact of reforms on procurement fraud, and other problems that they face in managing procurement in their ministries, departments, and agencies. And we'll take this forward to see how we can address those problems.
If the society where you are deploying that solar street light, that medical are not happy, or they don't go there and get treated, that procurement is a failed procurement. So that's the shift we're saying now, that whatever you are procuring must have direct impact on the lives of the end user.
The call is for more investments in digital transformation, cross-agency collaboration, and citizen feedback mechanisms. In Abuja, Dennis Adegunloye, NTAi News.
In other news, the chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Ola Olukoyede, says many public officers are now perfecting the antics of anticipatory declaration of assets to justify their intended stealing of public funds and other acts of corruption. The chairman stated this at the launch of the virtual tool on the Code of Conduct for Public Officers, organized by the Code of Conduct Bureau, in collaboration with the Technical Unit on Good Governance and Anti-Corruption Reforms. Now, to prove this notion, the chairman cites how investigation reveals properties valued over 3 billion naira declared in a CCB form carried an address different from the address of the location of the property. But further interrogation indicates that the person declared the property when the property was not in existence. He urged the leadership of CCB to take note of such criminality and intensify investigation through innovative ways to curtail corruption. The chairman, Code of Conduct Bureau, Abdullahi Usman Bello, explains that the virtual tool will promote transparency, make public officers to be accountable, and carry out their duties in high esteem. The European Union and its partners are holding a national dialogue, we hear, on social protection in Nigeria in hopes of addressing poverty and social inequalities. The dialogue is aimed at empowering vulnerable populations, fostering resilience and ensuring inclusive growth, while reinforcing Nigeria's national development and social justice framework. Lydia Sampson reports.
Fatima Abacha is the Secretary Maiduguri Metropolitan Council and has witnessed vulnerability firsthand as a result of Boko Haram attacks and flood.
We have dropout children from school and adolescent children that are shouting political touts and others, and our governor has tried on that side in re-engaging the youth into skill acquisitions and also re-engaging the school dropout into schools. And in terms of social protections, a lot of organizations has intervened and done their best on that side.
This resonates with Mariamut Njuma and other vulnerable persons who are respected beneficiaries of the program. The dialogue aims to expand and digitize Nigeria's social protection system, improving the National Social Register.
Now, the thank God that they're very happy for this one, this program where I come.
This dialogue is particularly important as social protection plays a critical role in reducing poverty, managing inequality, and enhancing the resilience of vulnerable populations.
Social protection is not merely a policy aspiration. It's a lifeline. It is the difference between exclusion and participation.
Dialogue between regimes, governments, and citizens, which is why you are sitting here, should be such that you're not standing on the fence, but asking the right questions. What kind of register do we have? How was the register built? Are the poor really inside?
We are undertaking harmonization of social protection initiatives through ministries, departments, and agencies. This reform will reduce duplication, close operational gaps, and enhance service delivery to Nigerians.
This initiative intends to create a robust, responsive mechanism for poverty reduction and social inclusion. In Abuja, Lydia Sampson, NTAi News.
So let's take a quick break. We'll be back shortly. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Mitigating the effect of climate change dominated discussions at a two-day high-level parliamentary workshop on climate change and methane by the House of Representatives Committee on Climate Change and Security, in collaboration with the United Nations Development Programme. Now, the aim is to legislate for climate resilience, provide effective oversight and policy development processes. National Assembly correspondent Isa Mohammed reports.
Climate change is one of the most complex challenges globally, with negative impacts on health, food security, infrastructure, biodiversity, and national development. In Nigeria, the risk is intensifying by existing social and economic vulnerabilities, placing immense pressure on public systems. The Speaker, House of Representatives, Abbas Tajuddin represented, says the workshop serves as a platform for sharing ideas, evaluation of policies, and chart the way forward.
We will continue to engage ministries, development partners, and the private sector to improve access to climate finance, to strengthen project delivery, and integrate climate considerations into national planning.
Until Nigerians begin to see physical things on ground concerning as mitigation against climate change, they begin to take it more seriously. As long as we keep talking workshops and everything, it will be difficult for people to actually believe what we are doing.
The IPU has made climate change a central pillar of our work, reflecting the strong political will of our member parliaments.
Stakeholders believed the knowledge gathered will shape Nigerians' ability to respond to climate crisis. In Abuja, Isa Muhammad, NTAi News.
President Bola Tinubu will depart Abuja on Thursday, that is August 14, 2025, for a two-nation trip to Japan and Brazil. The president will stop over in Dubai, that's the United Arab Emirates, before proceeding to Japan. In Japan, President Tinubu will attend the 9th Tokyo International Conference on African Development in the city of Yokohama from August 20 to 22. With the theme, Co-Create Innovative Solutions with Africa, that is TCAD 9, which will focus on Africa's economic transformation and improvements in the business environment and institutions through private investment and innovation. It will also promote a resilient and sustainable African society for human security, peace and stability. In addition to attending plenary sessions on themes linked to the conference, the Nigerian president will hold bilateral meetings and meet the chief executive officers of some Japanese companies with investments for Nigeria. At the end of the TCAD 9, President Tinubu will leave for Brasilia, the capital of the Federative Republic of Brazil, on a two-day state visit from Sunday, August 24 to Monday, August 25. This follows an invitation by the Brazilian president, Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva. While in Brazil, President Tinubu will hold a bilateral meeting with his hosts and attend business forum with Brazilian investors. The Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Festus Keyamo, announces the decisive resolutions on the recent incidents involving Miss Comfort Emerson and music icon Wasiu Ayinde Marshall, popularly known as Kwam 1. Over the past 48 hours, the minister says he has engaged in consultations with critical stakeholders in the aviation sector and individuals involved in the unfortunate incident, and came up with some of these decisions. In a statement through his special assistant on media, Tunde Moshood, the minister has conferred with Ibom Airline to withdraw its criminal complaint against Comfort Emerson and to be released from Kirikiri Correctional Facility within this week. The minister also discussed with the airline operators of Nigeria to lift the lifetime flying ban imposed on Ms. Emerson. On the issue of Kwam1, the National Civil Aviation Authority is to reduce his flight ban to 1 month, and FAN will collaborate with him as a public ambassador for proper airport security protocol awareness. The upcoming Alaska meeting between President Donald Trump and, of course, President Putin has generated significant interest and debate. As the meeting approaches, various parties have been weighing in with suggestions and taking sides on the expected outcomes. Kolo Mohammed reports.
White House officials say President Donald Trump will hold a telephone call with President Zelensky and European leaders ahead of the Trump-Putin summit. This comes as the White House say Friday's meeting with Russian President in Alaska will be a listening exercise for President Trump. The choice of Alaska for the meeting between President Donald Trump and President Putin, analysts say, is no coincidence, as Alaska is the closest state in the United States of America to Russia. Alaska belonged to the Russian Empire until it was sold to Washington, D.C. in 1867. The analysis and facts came out as it is known that the International Criminal Court in Hague placed an arrest warrant on President Vladimir Putin of Russia on alleged war crimes in Ukraine, even though the USA does not recognize the jurisdiction of ICC, which makes it safe for Putin to travel to. The call to hold between President Zelensky and European leaders with President Trump indicates that the Alaska summit remains bilateral between President Donald Trump and President Putin as against an anticipated trilateral summit between Trump, Putin, and Zelensky. European leaders still stand their ground, premised on the need to discourage changing national borders by force. President Zelensky has maintained that any summit in the absence of Kyiv comes in dead. President Putin wants Ukraine demilitarized and NATO expansion discontinued. President Trump, the White House says, wants a permanent ceasefire. In other news, as the war in Ukraine rages, the more President Putin has come to rely on support from North Korea. First, Pyongyang sent ammunition, then soldiers. Now it's sending thousands of construction workers to help fill a huge labor shortage created by the war in Ukraine. South Korean intelligence officials told news agencies that 10,000 workers were sent to Russia last year. Many more are continuing to arrive, and more than 50,000 are expected in total. With very poor conditions, some workers have managed to escape back to Russia. This was posted on social media, showing a North Korean man working at a construction site in Russia's Far East. He's one of the North Koreans working to fill labor shortage created by the war in Ukraine. This man fled last year. He said they spend 18 hours a day building apartments and not allowed to leave the building sites. He said he was initially happy to get to Russia, travel abroad to earn money to support his family. But once he started working, he felt like he was in a labor camp, a prison without bars, terrified to wake up every morning feeling deeply paralyzed from hard labor. The need to abscond became necessary as working was to make money for North Korean leader Kim Jong-un and his family. This is said to be the way Kim Jong-un has come to President Putin's defense. Reports say these are the lucky handfuls that have managed to get out. Thousands more are stuck, and many more will keep arriving long after the war is over and the missiles and soldiers stopped. Kolo Muhammad, NTAi News.
Former Malian Prime Minister Kokala Maiga is under arrest and the latest top politician to be detained by the West African junta. Earlier this month, Mega was questioned as part of an investigation into allegations of misuse of public property. Here is Kolo Mohammed again with the report.
Mega served as Prime Minister from 2021 until his dismissal in November 2024, just after he criticized the regime for postponing elections. He continued to criticize the junta after leaving office. Another former Prime Minister, Musa Mara, was arrested on August 1st on charges of damaging the state's credibility after tweeting support for jailed critics of the ruling military junta. Mali has been ruled by military leaders since the junta seized power in 2020 and staged another coup the following year. In June, the country's leader, General Assimi Goïta, was given additional 5 years in power, despite the junta's earlier promise to return to civilian rule by March 2024. The move followed the military regime's dissolution of political parties in May. Recently, 2 military senior generals and more than 40 army officers were arrested in Mali over coup allegations. Kolo Mohammed, NTAi News.
All right, let's check out Thursday's weather prospect just before we go. And we're done. Thank you for your time. I'm Ruth Aguwele. Bye.